A crew of Space Marines is dispatched to a space station on one of the solar system's most dangerous moons. When they arrive, however, they discover a more terrifying discovery that makes them want to never return there again. How many of the crew members will survive? Let's see what happens in the film. United Aerospace Corporation scientists discovered ancient teleportation machines in Nevada on Earth and Phobos, one of Mars' moons. These machines are later dubbed gates, and UAC built bases of operations around them to better study them. And now they're going to experiment with it for the first time. A volunteer from the Nevada facility will allegedly be teleported to the Phobos facility after passing through the gates. The volunteer enters the facility nervously after the gates are activated, and he is now in Phobos facility. At first, everyone is ecstatic about what appears to be a scientific breakthrough. But, to their surprise, a pale-looking man with sharp claws and teeth arrives at the facility. Meanwhile, a crew of Space Marines is awakened from cryo-sleep aboard the UAC armored transport vessel the NOLA.
When a lieutenant named Joan Dark wakes up, she has a brief dream about her mother's death.
Morgan, the ship's pilot, greets the crew as they awaken. Captain Savage, Joan, Terk, Winslow, Carly, Rance, Lai, Harry, and Aku make up the crew. Dr. Bennett, a scientist and Joan's ex-boyfriend, is accompanying them. Except for the captain and Joan, the crew eats and converses in the cafeteria. When Joan arrives, the crew falls silent awkwardly. Terk announces that it is time for the briefing, and everyone departs, leaving Joan and Bennett in the cafeteria. Joan is congratulated by Bennett on her promotion to lieutenant. In turn, she asks Bennett if he's been to Phobos before, and he says no. The Phobos facility. The volunteer has been placed in isolation due to his aggressive behavior. Dr. Malcolm Betruger, the Phobos facility's lead scientist, discovers antidepressants in the man's system after running the analysis. He informs Dr. According to Ahmed Khan, the Nevada facility's lead scientist, this could be the reason for the volunteer's behavior after the teleportation. This should not, however, prevent them from continuing to test the gates. Hearing this, Khan is concerned about the board, which has stated that no further testing will be permitted until the recent issue is resolved. Betruger simply advises them not to be distracted by a single setback. What matters is that they were able to teleport a man from Nevada to Phobos in an instant. Betruger also assures Khan that there is no need to worry about finding a new volunteer because he will be the one to go through the test next. Returning to the NOLA, the crew begins their briefing, led by Captain Savage. The Phobos facility, which was built into the Martian moon, was divided into 3 levels, according to him. Level 1 has a cargo bay, offices, living quarters, and other basic amenities, while Level 2 has the computer and maintenance sections. Level 3 is then home to laboratories and a fusion reactor. The crew is taken aback when they learn that the facility uses nuclear power. Bennett, on the other hand, assures them that the reactor is safe. What they should be concerned about is the moon itself, which has one of the most volatile environments in the solar system. Phobos is known as the doomed moon for this reason. This information triggers Winslow, who questions why they are being sent to Phobos when only one of them messed up on their previous mission. Joan realizes he's referring to her and requests that he address her directly. Joan, it turns out, was punished for insubordination because of something she did recently. Instead of being punished alone, her entire crew is dragged into the mess. That is why the crew is distant from her, and Winslow now blames her for bringing them all to the doomed moon.
Savage orders Winslow to halt, stating that they will either succeed or fail as a team.
He then dismisses the team and instructs them to prepare for landing. The scene shifts to the Phobos facility, where Betruger is being prepared for his journey to the gates. Veronica, a new medical personnel, performs the scan on him. Betruger reassures her, telling her not to worry. When the gates are opened, he does not hesitate to enter. However, a massive power surge occurs, resulting in a blackout throughout the facility. Veronica notices a person who is injured and goes to get the first aid kit. She hears a growling noise behind her at that moment. When Veronica returns to investigate the source of the noise, she screams. The NOLA eventually arrives and docks at the facility's landing pad. Morgan attempts to contact the facility's tower to request entry, but no one responds.
After another failed attempt, he instructs Daisy, the ship's AI, to contact the facility's tower.
Soon after, Savage arrives, and Morgan informs him of the situation. Daisy, on the other hand, is unable to enter their system. At that moment, she receives an incoming message from Martian Command. Listening to it, Martian Command orders them to remain in their positions for the time being. As a result, Savage calls Joan and Bennett to inform them of the situation. Bennett then recalls reading about the facility that there is an entrance built into the landing pad. He demonstrates what he's talking about by placing a camera. They receive another call from Martian Command, and Savage informs them that they have already discovered a way into the lab. The Martian Command then gives them their mission briefing after hearing this. Following that, the crew meets to discuss their mission. The facility's system went down about 20 minutes ago, according to Savage.
Their new mission is to enter the facility and restore the facility's system.
Terik wonders why they have to do this. Bennett responds, stating that there are experiments inside the facility that are extremely dangerous and require precise monitoring. If they don't get the systems back online, these experiments, as well as the scientists' years of work and progress, will be for naught. Savage then instructs the team to listen to the last distress signal sent by the facility before it goes offline. To the horror of the crew, all they can hear is growling and screaming. Winslow inquires as to what the hell has happened, and Savage only knows that they are not dealing with a blown fuse. After dismissing the crew, Savage talks to Morgan about their evacuation plan in case something goes wrong. The pilot then assures the captain that if the situation calls for it, the Nola will be able to escape the moon in an instant. Meanwhile, as the crew prepares, Winslow mentions that they might be dealing with aliens right now. Terik, on the other hand, claims that there has never been any documented evidence of extraterrestrial life throughout history. Morgan deploys the extension bridge to the hatch beneath the landing pad when everyone is ready. However, as soon as the Nola connects to the facility, the ship's power is corrupted and it shuts down for a while. Fortunately, the power is restored immediately. The crew is then able to enter the facility without incident. Everything appears to be in order after checking the facility's oxygen, gravity, and toxicity levels. However, when Bennett checks the power reserve of the location, he discovers that there is only 2% power remaining. He tells Joan about it, and she tells him he must inform the captain. The Martian command then gives them their mission briefing after hearing this. Following that, the crew meets to discuss their mission. The facility's system went down about 20 minutes ago, according to Savage. Their new mission is to enter the facility and restore the facility's system. Terik wonders why they have to do this. Bennett responds, stating that there are experiments inside the facility that are extremely dangerous and require precise monitoring. If they don't get the systems back online, these experiments, as well as the scientists' years of work and progress, will be for naught. Savage then instructs the team to listen to the last distress signal sent by the facility before it goes offline. To the horror of the crew, all they can hear is growling and screaming. Winslow inquires as to what the hell has happened, and Savage only knows that they are not dealing with a blown fuse. After dismissing the crew, Savage talks to Morgan about their evacuation plan in case something goes wrong. The pilot then assures the captain that if the situation calls for it, the Nola will be able to escape the moon in an instant. Meanwhile, as the crew prepares, Winslow mentions that they might be dealing with aliens right now. Terik, on the other hand, claims that there has never been any documented evidence of extraterrestrial life throughout history. Morgan deploys the extension bridge to the hatch beneath the landing pad when everyone is ready. However, as soon as the Nola connects to the facility, the ship's power is corrupted and it shuts down for a while. Fortunately, the power is restored immediately. The crew is then able to enter the facility without incident. Everything appears to be in order after checking the facility's oxygen, gravity, and toxicity levels. However, when Bennett checks the power reserve of the location, he discovers that there is only 2% power remaining. He tells Joan about it, and she tells him he must inform the captain. Daisy, to his surprise, tells him that she will not let him leave. Daisy, as if possessed, begins to sound like a demon, and the engine abruptly shuts down. Morgan is startled to hear something growling behind his chair. When he turns around, he sees a terrifying alien. Joan decides to look for the server herself after losing Daisy's assistance. While doing so, Lai notices someone following them. She goes in search of the possible survivor, accompanied by Harry. Terik, on the other hand, notices someone huddled in a corner. He goes to check on it after notifying Joan, only to discover that it's a man eating another person. To his surprise, he is unable to avoid the zombie-like creature's attack, which rips Terik's throat out. When Winslow finds him, it's too late. The zombie has already attacked him. Winslow fights the zombie before shooting it in the head. Joan arrives soon after and discovers what has happened to her crewmates. At the same time, Savage team detects and checks on people nearby. Fortunately for them, these are true survivors. Glover, the facility's chaplain, and Veronica, a female scientist. When Savage hears a gunshot on the radio, he asks Terik what's going on. To his surprise, Joan is the one who responds, stating that a zombie-like creature attacked and killed Terik. At that point, Lai and Harry enter the conversation and inform the captain that the two of them had been attacked by a zombie earlier and had taken it out. Joan investigates the zombie and discovers that it is a geneticist at UAC. Lai examines the zombie on their side to see if it, too, is from UAC, but it attacks her. Harry, acting quickly, finally kills it this time before it can harm Lai. As if all hell has broken loose, Savage team is attacked by zombies right now, and the female scientist is the first to perish. Further complicates matters by deactivating their communication lines. More zombies appear, and the Marines struggle to fight them because they are vastly outnumbered, resulting in the deaths of Lai and Aqua. returning to level 2. Winslow abandons Joan when his cowardice takes over. As a result, Joan is left to fend for herself against the zombies. After some time, Winslow, who is fleeing zombies, runs into Joan again. She doesn't hesitate to save him, but then smacks him for abandoning her. Harry is searching for his crew when he comes across a barely surviving scientist, who turns out to be Betruger. In the end, Savage, Aqua, and Lie are killed during the battle, with Savage sacrificing himself for the sake of the crew. Joan confronts Bennett about what is really going on as she watches the captain die right in front of her. Bennett now reveals that the Phobos scientists discovered evidence of alien life. Joan inquires about the nature of the evidence, and Betruger appears with Harry, stating that it is difficult to comprehend. Betruger then explains the gates to the crew.
These gates, similar to teleportation, allow one to travel from one location to another. Betruger adds that, in addition to what they discovered on Phobos and Nevada, they believe there are more gates scattered throughout the universe.
Joan wonders if everything that has happened is the result of them activating the gates. Betruger, on the other hand, insists that he has no idea, claiming that he blacks out after passing through the gate. At this point, Veronica and Glover speak up, claiming to have seen the alien who turned their coworkers into zombies. Veronica refers to them as monsters, while Glover refers to them as fire demons. When Betruger hears this, he calls him ridiculous and claims that everything has been a setback. The crew is offended because they have already lost 4 members.
As a result, despite Betruger's protests, they all return to the NOLA.
Joan goes first to the extension bridge and orders Winslow, Rance, and Carly to keep watch. Joan directs Veronica to take Betruger to his stateroom and instructs her on how to get there. Glover is then joined by Harry to go get some water. Joan immediately searches for Morgan, only to discover him dead on the deck. The aliens then attack her, but she manages to avoid their attacks, including the fireballs. Harry, on the other hand, does not survive as the alien attacks him from behind. Glover is the next to be attacked, and it only takes 1 strike to knock him out. Rance is about to go check on the ship after hearing the commotion when he is suddenly grabbed upwards.
To the horror of the other, his guts rain down the ladder before his body falls to the floor.
The alien then attacks them and easily defeats Bennett and Carly. When Winslow notices this, he flees to save himself. Meanwhile, Joan searches the ship for her crew and discovers Harry's death. Veronica interrupts her as she is about to check Glover's pulse. When she sees Glover's condition, Veronica panics, but Joan quickly calms her down. Then she orders her to return to Betruger and not to leave until she says so. Joan is attacked by the alien again just seconds later, but this time it manages to catch her and tries to suck her life away, turning her into a zombie.
Meanwhile, Joan has a vision of her late mother and travels to a strange location.
Glover, who turns out to be alive, comes to her aid, distracting the alien long enough for her to get back on her feet. Glover, on the other hand, is killed by a direct hit from a fireball. At the same time, Carly is looking for Winslow, who has just abandoned her. The alien unexpectedly charges at her, but Winslow returns and the two of them kill the alien. They then return to the extension bridge and find Bennett unconscious. As the situation settles, the remaining survivors congregate on the NOLA to plot their next move. Betruger suggests activating the gates and teleporting to Earth with the ship's flight deck destroyed and no power to send out distress signal. The Marines initially refuse to risk it, but according to Bennett, they only have 30 minutes before the meltdown occurs and have no choice but to follow Betruger's plan. Bennett says it's too dangerous to use the gates after the others have gone to prepare for their journey to the reactor room. Joan reveals that she only agrees so Betruger will stop bothering her with the gates. Once the power is restored, they will send out a distress signal and wait for assistance. They reach the reactor room without incident, as if luck is on their side. But as soon as Bennett finishes restoring power, Betruger murders Veronica. Betruger recalls everything that has happened since he passed through the gates and is now working for the alien. Bennett attends to Veronica after witnessing what happened, while Joan pursues Betruger. However, the traitor has already locked them inside the room. Worse yet, aliens appear and kill both Winslow and Carly. After Joan has extracted all of them, the dying Veronica calls her and hands her the keycard to the lab, which houses Phobos Gate. They both go to stop him, along with Bennett. They come across a special armory room at this point. Joan obtains the plasma gun and bomb stored inside by using the keycard from the first dead body they discovered earlier. When Bennett arrives at the lab elevator, an alien grabs him and takes him inside as soon as the door opens. Joan tries to assist, but she is distracted by 2 zombies and an alien, which she easily dispatches with the plasma gun. She jumps into the elevator and finds the lab full of dead bodies. Meanwhile, Betruger is casually beginning the procedure to open the gates. Joan orders him to take his hands off the controls, but he simply orders zombie Bennett to attack her. She continues to call out for Bennett at first, but when she realizes it's too late, she ends his suffering. When Joan is distracted, Betruger takes advantage of the opportunity to strike from behind and steal Joan's gun. However, she recovers it and does not waste time shooting Betruger. Despite this, he is still alive. Unbuttoning his shirt, Betruger reveals that the alien overlord has already taken his heart and reborn him as its servant. He uses his telekinetic ability to push Joan through the gates. Joan later finds herself in the water. Joan realizes she's in a different world as she swims to the surface, noticing a structure she remembers seeing in her vision earlier. At this point, the overlord Stanga appears and telepathically pushes Joan, forcing her to drop the plasma gun. He then tells her that they will reclaim Earth and exterminate humanity, calling the species a plague of the universe. As the aliens charge at Joan, she quickly grabs the plasma gun and shoots Stanga.
She then runs to a portal she sees and throws 2 plasma grenades at the aliens before jumping into it.
Joan lands in front of Khan, who is perplexed as to why she comes out of the gates instead of Betruger. Joan informs everyone that they must close the gate as soon as she confirms her return to Earth. They don't mind what she's saying because they believe the teleportation is making her delusory, so they inject sedatives to make her weak and sleepy. Thank you for watching this video to end. Visit my channel